Solana could be on the verge of another breakout. We have seen most recently Solana's price action holding up incredibly well. Most recently, we've only seen a dip of around 3.98%, and this one has the potential to stay in these kind of dojo candles until we get that next big surge to the upside. Hi, and welcome to the channel. My name is Nick, and today we are talking about the technical analysis on Solana, sharing my thoughts and opinions and my short-term price prediction for Solana. As I get into today's video, guys, smash that like button. Let's see if we can hit 500 likes on today's video. And if you are new to the channel, click on subscribe, stay up to date with all the content that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Guys, let's get right down into this video. So most recently, we saw Solana pushing up. We hit into our expected range at 185 to 198. This was something that we saw on the 20th of May and 21st of May. After we hit into this expected range, we did see a bit of a drop to the downside of around 14.77%. Followed this by a little bit of a bump to the upside, where we saw about 8% on move. Unfortunately, the price action has started to stabilize most recently just up here with these candles that are indecisive. These candles are known as dojos because basically the open and closed position are almost at the same level, indicating the market can't make a decision as to whether they should be pumping or dumping their Solana holdings. And this is actually a bit of a positive because whilst this is happening, we are seeing the market correct down. Let me show you the stochastic RSI. Here you can see the stochastic RSI has heavily gone to the oversold area very rapidly. Okay, this is an indication of overbought, basically too much buying pressure, and the market feels that everything is a bit overpriced. And as we come down to the lower ranges, this is where the market feels that we're getting a bit of a discount if we start buying now. Now, the stochastic RSI, unlike the RSI, is more sensitive to price movements. It essentially means that we're likely to see reversals in the market. It's going to be more reactive. The RSI, the relative strength index, is better placed for trends, whereas the stochastic RSI is better placed for those shorter term moves, right? And it's tracking every kind of like minor movement in terms of price. It's not useful if you're kind of looking at the market through a kind of longer term macro lens. You don't really want to be using the stochastic RSI. You want to use more of an RSI. But if you are trying to swing in and out of the market or leverage trade frequently, then a stochastic RSI is your friend. So when we take a look at the stochastic RSI and the way that it's rapidly moved from overbought to oversold, as we see these dojo candles and as we saw this correction here, this is actually showing us that the price action for Solana is actually in a reasonable position, and we might start to see reversals in the market. Now, this is not necessarily over just yet, but we'll see how the market might go. We might find another wick to the downside briefly before we start to see that next surge to the upside. So we want to be mindful over that. But for the most part, we are actually in a pretty reasonable position here for Solana. So where are things heading? Well, let's bring up the stochastic RSI here for a second, turn it off and bring on the divergence indicator. The relative strength index is also above the 50 level, indicating bullish times for the SOL token. But we have, of course, still just ranging sideways here on the relative strength index. There's no divergences indicated here either, so we shouldn't be terribly too concerned whether we've got bearish divergence, bullish divergence, hidden bearish, hidden bullish, all that kind of stuff. None of that is of concern at the moment either. MACD is unfortunately quite laggy, so it is showing you only really the price action that's just passed over the last few weeks. So it's showing negative because we've moved down by 14%. So this isn't going to give you an indication as to kind of what you should be doing next. This is an indication of, well, we've seen some negative price action. This isn't one that I would be using for any trading calls. This is not one that I use for confirmation, but it's one that I know many people look at, so I thought I'd bring it into the video. Ultimately, the stochastic RSI, the way that it's come down here, I'm looking for a couple more days of stability slash volatility. After that, I would start to think about reversals in the market. From our smaller time frames like the hourly, we still have some potential here, so I'm going to be watching that. The 4 hourly as well still will look for a bit more slippage to the downside. 8 hourly has a bit more slippage as well. So although the dailies move rapidly to the downside, the smaller time frames are showing us with more volatility to be expected. Okay, so just bear that in mind. Now, if I throw on smart money concepts, we can see that we are in bullish times here for for Solana. We had the change of character here on the smaller time frames. We had the break of structure to confirm it. We've had the retest of this previous area of resistance right now, and this is in line with our 50 EMA, 50 SMA equilibrium. We are above it, so if we were to see a move to the downside, that this area should hold out as support, as historically that's what equilibrium likes to do. Our 200 EMA is obviously significantly lower than price action as well, sat at 124.30, sorry, and that is an indication of great support, I think, in the daily chart here for Solana. Obviously, following on from the previous video, we did see this downward trend line get broken to the upside. We do have ourselves higher highs and higher lows here, and there is a little bit of concern with some overlap potential. Okay, we aren't there yet, so we are going to be looking at this through an interesting perspective, but for now we aren't terribly too concerned about that. This one here, we actually crossed higher than the 1.382, and this was an indication that we were looking for a Z wave move higher, which I'm going to put on the existing low at the moment, and this is going to show us with a move out towards, in my opinion, the $189 approximately. Yeah, right in here, $189 up towards the $239. I'm going to put this little yellow box here as our targeted range for Solana over the next little while. So we obviously hit this one here, and this is our next one. It's quite a broad range because that's how Z waves work, and this started over here on the 13th of April. We have a W wave, an X wave, a Y wave, another X wave, and then the Z wave. The Y wave in itself concluded with our targeted range here on the 1-to-1 ratio, and we'll be looking for a similar 3-wave pattern into here as well. Okay, so that's going to be what we're looking for. As you can see, this is a fantastic 3-wave pattern. Actually, this is quite a good example of what WXYXZ works for, because if I take the WXYXZ off of the play here, you can see 3 waves up, 3 waves down, 3 waves up, 3 waves down, and we're looking for the 3 waves up. Okay, so all in all, it's looking really nice and tidy. There's nothing unusual about what's going on here, so we are looking for that next move, 189 to 239. That's going to be where my next kind of Solana price prediction is going to be sat here. Okay, so that's kind of what we're going to be looking for. Now, this is going to be an interesting point. It's not going to be new all-time highs or anything like that. This is, of course, still a corrective pattern. Now, it could be that we see this as a diagonal in time, because that's another possibility, and the only way for that to play out would be that the Z wave is significantly larger than the Y wave. Okay, so if we do see a Z wave kind of explode out and go significantly higher, we are going to be looking for anything higher than $156. If we do that, then we are not in a WXYXZ, but more of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in an expanding diagonal, and that is going to be insanely bullish for Solana long term. Okay, so that's some clear kind of examples as to what we're going to be doing. If you want to know more about that, join us in our free Discord. The link for that is in the description below, because Elliott Wave can be confusing. It can be a lot to take in. You might not fully understand it. There's lots of rules around it, but it works perfectly if you apply it impeccably, right? And if you can understand what I'm talking about in terms of Elliott Wave theory, then you'll know the importance of a 5-wave pattern, because long term it's insanely bullish. Okay, so that's kind of where the daily chart is currently sat here for Solana. Roll this up into a weekly time frame, and you can kind of see that we are tracking this as the potential here for completed a 5th wave. We're in this correction, this idea of a correction to the downside. This could be a WXYXZ B wave up higher. So if we avoid that diagonal, then that's what it's going to be, and we'll look to move down again, testing out that 50 EMA, 50 SMA, currently sat at around $101 to $82, which would be a pretty crazy crash, and a lot of people will be saying the bear market is in on all these kind of things. However, the more educated Elliott Wave investor will know that we had a 5-wave move leading into that, and actually we'll expect another 5-wave move out of it, which will be insanely bullish. So my long-term kind of price targets here, provided that we hold out at around $100 for support, lowest end, this is going to be a really conservative $1,800 price prediction on Solana. Now, that again is phenomenal. There could be many reasons and rationales and logics behind why that could happen. Our minimum expectation would be, of course, a double top with the previous all-time high. So again, I think we're going to blow that out of the water anyway. Even if we don't make it to $1,800, we'll still look for some very, very juicy gains. Now, when it comes to long-term aspects to this, it could take weeks, it could take a year, it could take 2 years. I don't know how to time the market. Can't do that. But what I can say is that there's a targeted range here that looks for $1,800. Now, whether that's a Solana spot ETF that kind of fuels wild speculation to kind of push the price to those levels, I don't know. But one of the things I do know is that technically from the charts and from Elliott wave theory and from smart money concepts, we are looking at a pretty bullish run for Solana in the coming months. You can let me know what your thoughts and opinions are in the comments down below, whether you agree or disagree with all of that. And if you have found today's video useful, informative, smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe and check this video out right here where we're discussing what's going on with XRP.